What is up, guys? It is Zach Plochet, and in this video, we're going to be exploring the Pathlib Python package and doing some basic commands to get you comfortable working with file manipulation in Python. So without further ado, let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is import it. So to import this, you don't have to pip install anything. It's already part of the Python standard library. So you can just go ahead and import it like so. So from Pathlib, import path, just like that. Now, we're going to do some common tasks with Pathlib, and I'll show you how easy it is to do some of these things. So to represent kind of a file or a folder inside of Pathlib, you could do the following. So you can say file equals path to my file, let's say .txt. If you wanted to represent a directory or a folder, we could say path and only, I don't know, my folder, like so. So these are how you essentially instantiate a path or create them into objects. Now let's see how to actually create these files. So to create these different paths here, we're going to say the following. So just to create a file, we're going to say file.touch, and then we're going to run the script, and we'll see what happens. And as you can see, this myfile.txt popped up right here. So it's an empty text file for now, but that's essentially how you will create a file, and it's much better if it does have the ending. If it doesn't have the ending, so if I say my other file, and then we just say hello or whatever, equals path hello, then we say my other file.touch, it will still create this like this, but essentially it's just going to represent some weird version of a text file. Like it's just a file with no ending, so it's not that easy to tell what it actually is. So it's better to add an ending when you are defining your files. Now, what about creating a folder or creating a directory? Create a folder / directory. So this one is pretty easy. All we would have to do is say folder dot make dir, and then say, well, actually that's all you would say. So you can say folder dot make directory. We're going to press play. Oh yeah, let's delete this part right here. And as you can see, also I'll delete this guy. My folder was created right here. So that is very convenient. Okay, so that's cool. Now, what if we want to create a file inside of a folder? So create a file inside of a folder. So that's actually pretty easy. And because if we look at the types of each of these, so I'm going to comment these out. So comment this, keep the space there. We can see that both of these are path objects because that's what we're doing here. And also if we print type of what the file is and then type of what this folder is, I'm just going to separate those on a new line. So let's print this. And down here, we can see that both of these are pathlib Windows path objects. So this gives us a special and really cool interface to work with. So if we wanted to, let's say, create a new file inside of this folder, all we would have to do is say folder / well, okay, so let's see, new file is going to be folder / whatever the file is, .txt or whatever ending you need. So if I say new file .touch right here, so long as this folder exists, I can press play. And now whatever .py is inside of this folder right here. So that's a pretty good command, or those are some pretty useful commands here to use. Let's see. Now, what if we want to write something inside of our file? So say, I don't know, you want to write something like an automated Python script generator or something. To do that, we could say Python file is equal to path myfile.py instead of .txt. So if we wanted to write to this, I could say Python file or just file or whatever you decide to call the variable name. And then we're going to use the command write text. So if I just say print hello world, like so. So Python file, write text, even without saying touch first. So if you say write text, this will automatically both create the file and write inside of it. So Python file dot write text, like this. So we run that, and now inside of this new myfile.py I just created, it already says print hello world. So this could be really useful. So for example, let's say you want to write something that generates more, I guess, dynamic scripts. So let's say we have a template here. So our template is going to equal a multi-line string. And let's say we want to do something with pandas, just for why not. So we're going to say import pandas as PD, and then we're going to create a data frame equals PD.data frame. And in order to template this properly, we will want to use a double curly brace. Otherwise, when we use the format method of a string, it'll give us a bit of a problem. So I'm going to say, so essentially this is acting as a dictionary. So we're going to say names. We can say Zach, and then whatever your name is. So we'll put that here. Your name, like so. And now we're going to have this data frame. So let's do this. We're going to say write text again, pointing towards the same Python file, by the way. And we're going to pass in our template and try to run it. So boom, I ran it. Let's look at my file. So the previous content was overwritten, and now this new data is inside of here. Now, what about creating multiple files? So create multiple files. Let's say we want to kick this up a notch. And so we have our Python file, we have our template, and instead of writing only one file, we want to write a bit more. So I'm going to say for I in range, let's say 5. And actually, we'll start at 1, so it'll be 1 through 5. And this is how you write that. Let's go ahead and say, let's see. So for I in range 1 through 5, we're going to say Python file, or we're just going to say file here, and we're going to create a new file name. Let's make this an F string so it can be dynamic. My py file. I'm going to add the I here so it's numbered. So we're going to create that. Then we're going to say file.write text. We're going to add our template, but also let's make some data inside of our template also dynamic. So to do that, we'll just say something like, okay, this is file, and then we're going to say, whoops, here we're going to say number. And because even though this isn't an F string, because we have number here, we can make this dynamic by going to our template variable that we're calling down here, down below, and we're going to say dot format number is equal to I, or sorry, I. There we go. Yep. So template dot format number is equal to I. If this works correctly, this number should be filled with whatever I is. So it should say this is file 1, this is file 2, this is file whatever. So let's go ahead and run the file now and see what happens. So as you can see, my file.py 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, these were all generated all with this basically, well, okay. This could essentially be like 4 lines of code. So 4 lines of code, and we were able to generate 5 files really, really simply. Now, let's see here. So we can click here. Yep. So that's file 1. It says it at the top. That's dynamic. That's dynamic. That's dynamic. And yeah, so that's all of these files that we were able to generate really quickly. So now let's delete these guys. Get that there. So what about reading a file? I'm going to comment out this. So now you see how to do that. Boop. Now, what about reading a file that we've written to? So what I'm going to do now is inside of our template here, I'll actually uncomment this part. So bloop, 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 right there. Let's write to the Python file one more time. write text template. Run this file. Now we have this here. Of course, if you don't format it, it's just going to have the template here. But now that that's here, let's say we want to get this file and work with the string data inside of it from whatever file that we're running. All we would have to do, instead of saying Python file.writeText, we're just going to copy this, uncomment it. We're going to say Python file read text like so. Whoops, like so. And we're going to say data or string content from that file is going to be a variable, and we're going to read it. So let's press play, or well, okay, I already did, but let's press play here. So this is a file, import pandas as PD, and it's all of the content from this file that we wrote right above. So it's a really easy interface compared to Python's default version of doing this, which would be something along the lines of, if we wanted to read a simple file, we would say with open myfile.py in R mode as file. We could say file.read. Like that. But I wouldn't personally say that this is quite as readable as what is up here. And also, this could also just be on one line where you just say print like this. So print Python file.read text, and that will do everything you need. Same as how just to write text, we can use it like this without having to open and do all of this stuff with the file, because this package takes care of this automatically. Now, say we want to have all of these files back, and say, well, we'll keep this guy commented. Bleep. All right, so say we have all of these files back, so I'm going to run the file. All of these files came back. And now say, now that we have all of these, that we want to just, all we want to do is just read every single file inside of this directory. So let's do that. Read files in a given directory. So this can be files or folders, doesn't actually matter. But what we're going to do is say path is going to equal the current directory that we're inside of. And just to make sure that we're pointing towards the right place, we're going to say print path here. And we can also say print path.resolve and see what this gives us. So yeah, as you can see, this path with a single dot, which represents the current directory, is going right up to where our folder is. So C users is ZachP desktop pathlib training. So that is correct here. Now let's see all of the files that are inside of this. So we're going to say for, let's see. So we're going to say for path in this path dot iter. So whatever our path is. So like if we wanted to put this on a in its own variable, so current folder equals path dot. So for path in the current folder dot iter, we're going to print the path dot name. And we're going to press play up here, and let's see the results down below here. So let's play. So now we can see the main.py file, my folder.py, or my file.py, my folder, and all of the Python files that we dynamically generate. So that's one way. Now, the only caveat here is we don't see whatever.py by default. So this is only the files in a directory. If you want to see every single file inside of like everywhere inside of this directory, so let's say including whatever.py, all we would have to do is just change this slightly. So we're going to copy this. So read all files. In a given, read all files, including nested files and folders in a given directory. So to do this, all we would have to say is current folder dot glob And then we're going to add these two commands here, or we're just going to fill it with this string, like so. Now, I couldn't specifically tell you what glob. Okay, so in this case, it says iterate over the subtree and yield all existing files, matching the relative pattern. Yeah. So I couldn't exactly tell you what glob means or why it's called glob, but essentially, these specific lines here, like glob with this string of the star / double star, will give us. It'll search through our directory and give us every single file, whether it's nested or not. So let's go ahead and press play again. So I'll move myself down, press play here. And oh wait, why did that not work? Current folder dot glob. Maybe I did it backwards. There we go. Yeah. So that was it. Okay, yeah. So double star / then star, and then yeah, main.py, my file, my folder, and all the way at the bottom is whatever.py. So yeah, I didn't know this, but apparently it puts it in alphabetical order as well. So that's a cool thing. Nice. Now, what about deleting a file? So let's do something a bit more complicated, and we're going to say delete all of a specific type of file in a directory. So let's say we want to do exactly what I just said. We're going to say for path in current folder dot directory, or sorry, dot iterdir. So more often than not, I end up using this iterdir, but sometimes glob is necessary as well. So inside of here, we're going to say path if path.name is equal to, or let's see, path.name.includes, or wait, includes. Okay, so we're going to say if my py file is inside of path.name, we're going to say path.unlink, like so. So if this works correctly, all of these files right here should be deleted. So let's go ahead and run this. And also I'll comment out this guy and keep the current folder. So let's run this guy and see what happens. Boom. And they're all gone. So unlink is how you delete a file in general. So let me write that for you as well, just so you can see the simple version. Delete an existing file. Let's say, and you can write this in one line as well. So we can just say path myfile.py, for example, and then unlink like this. Run that, and it's gone. So yeah, so like we did most of the basics here. So yeah, create a file, create a folder / directory. Let's see. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that might be cool to do. We could probably also do nested paths. So like, let's say you want to have a more complicated structure. So I'll comment out these guys. So we'll say, let's see, what's like a part of a website? So let's say we want to have a path like the following. So we're going to say base directory is equal to the path of our file, and then dot parent. So this is another way to represent the parent folder of the current file that you're running this from. So if you say base directory path _ file dot parent, in our case, this is going to represent the Pathlib training folder that I have all of this code in general. So that's something. Let's go ahead and now we're going to create, let's say because something like a website structure. So if I say base dir, and then I say /website, and then I say /blog, and I call this blog folder, like so. Let's see, base dir. Yeah. So this is how we can create a nested blog folder. And if we wanted to do any of the things that we've done before, but like let's say we want to create a file inside of this blog, it's a bit easier to navigate because now all we have is this variable name that we called blog folder, and we don't really have to think about writing this whole path over and over and over again like we would have to do in OS. So if we have a blog folder, let's go ahead and create a post here. So if I say blog folder, let's see. Yeah, so if we say, how do I want to do this? So my post equals blog folder slash post1.txt or something like this. Then we say my post.write, write text, my first post. Then I press play. Let's see what happens. So as you can see, no such file or directory. Pathlib training websites blog post1.txt. So the reason that this isn't working is because all of the parents of my posts, so all of the parent folders, starting at website and then to blog, these currently don't exist yet. So unless these other file paths, these folders already exist, we're not going to be able to write this file at this specific path, which would be Pathlib training website blog and then post1.txt. So in order to fix that, all we really have to do in our case is say in our blog folder, we need to make sure our blog folder exists. So we're going to say make dir, and also if you want to make the website at the same time and also the blog, all we have to do is say make dir parents equals true, like so. And now let's see if this works. So I'm going to press play. Myfile.py. Oh, yeah, sorry. So we'll grab that there. But if we look up here, we can see now website, and then it goes automatically open blog, and now there's a post1.txt. What happens if we run this again? Right. So now we got the error, cannot create a file when that file already exists. So that is true. We cannot create a file when a file already exists. And more specifically, in this case, it's actually talking about the folder because website and blog already exists, and we're still saying make dir. So in order to fix this, all we have to do is say exists, okay, equals true. So that way, if you run this on a computer that doesn't already have these or already does, you can still create that folder without the user having to like run some separate script or whatever. So let's try this again. And all we're looking for right now is that there are no errors. So also we can change this to post 2 or something and press play. Path make dir exists, okay. Oh, I think it's exist. Exist, okay. Let's try it. All right, yeah. And so no more errors. Let's try it again. Yep, that worked. That worked. That worked. All right, cool. So no more problems here. Let's see. Is there anything I'm missing? Okay, yeah. So one of the things that I didn't mention here is what if we want to just rename a simple file, let's say. So let's go ahead and do this. So I'm going to comment out all this stuff, go to the bottom here, create another file. My file equals my file.txt. So we're going to start off by saying this, then we're going to say file.write, or let's just say file.touch. So just to create a file, bloop, my file.txt is right here. Now we're going to rename it. So luckily we can just say file.rename, which it already knows which file we're referring to because that's a variable. So file.rename my zacfile.txt, press play, and it gets renamed. So relatively simple process. Now that one doesn't always work, and sometimes you may run into an error where you need to use the, I believe it's the subutil package. I don't really know, like sometimes that just is the case. I couldn't exactly tell you why, But for basic usage, this file.rename should work pretty much flawlessly for you. Now, I think something that would also be valuable is how to get, or one is just seeing the different attributes of the file package or of the path object itself and seeing what data you have access to. So to start this, we're going to say path attributes, and let's see what data we can get out of a single path. So now I'm going to go, we're just going to use my file.txt as an example. So I'm going to write another one. So file.write or a file.touch, run the file. Now it's here. And now let's see some of the main attributes that we can get from a file. So some of these are going to be, just to map this out, we're going to have the file name. We're going to have the file, I believe it's called suffix, which is just like the .py or whatever. We're going to have the file stem. And I believe we can also have the file create the date that the file was created, or I should say the date time, but it's not going to be like directly the date time. It's going to be like a number that represents the date time. So either way, let's get into this. So first of all, to see what our file, the attributes that our file has, an easy way to figure this out is to say, open up your, so an easy way to do this is to open up your Python interpreter, and then we're going to say from pathlib import path. You can point towards one of your files or none of your files. So we could just say path, or we just say print *dir, then path, and then just call that, and then say separation or separated by for \n and press enter, and that will give you all of the methods and functions or methods and attributes that you can use on a file or a path object. So what we can see is we see unlink, we see touch, and now let's use some of these like stem. So let's see, bloop, bloop, bloop. Okay, so let's assign these. We're going to say now file.name, file.suffix, and I'll show you what each of these are. File.stem. And so this one's a bit more complicated, but essentially this is going to be file.stat and then .stctime. Yeah, so it should be all of these. So let's see what each of these are. We're going to say print f file name is going to be the, well, of course, file name like that. So we can see a bit better. We're going to say file suffix, paste that 2 times, file stem, file stem, and then the, what was the last one? And the, yeah, the file create time. So file create time is going to equal file create datetime. Well, okay, yeah. So I called it datetime up there, so I'll stick there too. So that, in order to create these, you'll see the data on how, or you'll see how each of these are made right here. And let's see what happens when we run this. Let's see what these represent. Or let's see what these look like, I should say. So we're going to say separation instead of a space is going to be equal a new line and play. Oops. And play. So file name, oh yeah, by the way. All right, let's try this again with the neater formatting. Boom, so file name ends up being my file.txt. The file suffix is just the ending here, so that's going to be only .txt. If it's a Python file, that'll be .py. If it's JSON, it'll be .json. File stem, that's the name before the file ending, whereas file name is the entire thing. And then there's the create the file created date time, which is this big number that is somehow supposed to represent that it's the newest file created or the date that it was created on your system. So I believe with that, that is actually everything that I can think of. If you think I missed anything, please let me know in the comments and I will make a better video at some point in the future. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. And until next time, bye for now.